we've said this a couple times this year. Like, as Seattle sports fans, we're trained for almost some negativity or some pessimism, but they have to scheme for that. Good luck, because if you're banking on two guys in the middle to create enough pressure on Michael Penix to disrupt this entire offense, I mean, it's not going to work for you, man. You have to have more than that. We're going to score in the 30s, so you have to come up there with us. I'm just thankful for you guys, man, and what you do for our community and everything like that. So I'm stoked to be enjoying this ride with you too. So it's been awesome, man.
Likewise,
It's
bro.
it really is, man. Izzo, it's exciting to be a part of it, man. I mean, we put this little podcast together, thinking that,
Thanks to
I'm
Mike.
not. Yeah, dude. My Mike hit us up and said, "Hey, you guys want to do this?" And it was an idea we always had, but I don't think any of us envisioned that it would be, on the yellow brick road to a national championship.
Welcome to the Dubbed Up Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Flaunt. We're getting ready for the CFP, our first round matchup against Texas. I got my guys Izzo and Noah with me. Fellas, this has been kind of a crazy week. The last 3 weeks, actually, going back and forth with Texas fans. We've been seeing it in the media. Izzo, what's your thoughts going into maybe the biggest game of the century for you, Dub?
What I'm liking, and I tweeted this out just a little bit ago, what I'm liking is the swagger that our players are going into these pre-game interviews with in the lead up. I don't think it's all smoke. There's something there. I'm telling you. I don't know if it's Aaron Butler and his recruitment and us losing out on him. There was an interview with somebody, and Shep popped off, and I loved every second of it. It seems like the players are rallying around a little confidence and going after guys, and I
Some
love it.
saltiness.
Dude, yeah, something smelly down in New Orleans. It ain't just Bourbon Street, I'll tell you that. But
Hey, let's dive into that a little bit before we get into the analysis of the game. What do you think is going on right now? Does it seem to you guys like UW might be a little bit pissed off at what's going on and how we're being portrayed? We're always the underdog, even though we keep proving people wrong.
yeah, I don't know how many. I don't know how many like national pundits have to say it. Twitter voices. But at the end of the day, there's West Coast football ain't just this like powder puff, throw it up and down the field and see how many points we can score. Dude, the University of Washington just won the Joe Moore Award. Shout out to the offensive line. Dude, if you can't watch the Oregon games, if Booger McFarland hasn't watched the Oregon games, go watch both games. Go watch how we bullied that line. That was supposed to be the SEC team, out west was Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't look at us anymore and say that this team can do it in multiple facets, multiple looks, I don't know what to tell you, man. But they're gonna see it come January 1, man.
Yeah, this is real. That's real. This is real. I think you saw the defensive tackle Sweat came out saying, "Oh, it's just another offensive line," and they keep coming at us like this, and it's like they forgot what happened last year because Talapapa went for 107 yards and a TD, averaging 7.7 yards a carry on them last year. And they're like, oh, well, we didn't have this guy, this guy, and this guy. I was like, you guys still don't have these guys. They're not here anymore. They're in the NFL. So we basically played the team we played last year, and we're playing them now. And they still think, oh, there's that much development in a year, but we must have been
We
putting
just didn't
suspended
develop.
animation. Yeah, we didn't develop. We didn't win the Joe Moore Award. That was just in our heads.
Yeah, man. I mean, I I'm not gonna discount those two in the middle. They're beasts, but there's some big question marks, and we're gonna go into it. But they got some question marks on defense, and I'll just say like this: like I would much rather be UW trying to scheme for this game with the players that we have. And maybe this is a long-winded way of saying I'd rather be UW in this game, but I would rather be us scheming against Texas and having to worry about those two interior defensive linemen than them having to worry with their secondary about the four receivers that we're just going to unleash on that defense.
You know what's interesting about that too is is at your point. It's like I don't think there's anyone in the country. You want to talk about national media, internet guys, whatever it is. The Pac-12 is by far a better conference than the Big 12 this year.
Definitely.
And
Definitely.
so knowing the gauntlet that we had to go to not only beat an Oregon team twice, the November streak that we had. I mean, dude, we're tried, tested, and I mean, and like we've said, dude, we might be healthier now than we've been all year.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so you're coming in facing this team right now, dude. We might be hitting on all cylinders for the first time. And we're 13-0.
Hey, this is the facts right here. The East Coast bias might play to our advantage. We're being overlooked. And if anybody's going to overlook us, a guy like Sark might be the one who overlooks us. But on top of that, when it comes to like what we have to offer and what we're doing, people may not have seen what we're doing because they don't see us because it's the middle of the night when we're playing. That's going to end up playing to our advantage. How about we dive into the game and start looking at the different pieces and what's going on? Like the first thing I want to take a look at is how the UW pass offense goes against that Texas secondary. That's our strength and what's considered Texas's biggest weakness. Izzo, what do you think when you're breaking down this matchup? How does the analysis play in your favor? Is it or play in UW's favor? Because I think that's what we're seeing.
I mean, honestly, there isn't a corner at Texas that I would take over McMillan or Rome. I think that's obvious. Especially they have a slot corner. His name's Jade Barron. And this is, if there's a matchup to pick on for UW, McMillan in the slot against this kid it's not fair. I mean, we've seen, it's not every team or every defense you play in the Pac-12 has like a great slot corner, but keep an eye on that matchup. He's struggled at times with guys who are just not even close to Jalen McMillan's caliber. So that's the main one that sticks out to me. But at the end of the day, like they have a couple pieces. They have, Malik Muhammad. They have Gavin Holmes in the secondary. Malik Muhammad, I believe is he the cousin of Jabbar?
Yep.
Yeah. He's their, correct me if I'm wrong, he's probably their best corner, right? Let me ask you this, Noah. Would you take Malik Muhammad against Polk, McMillan, or Rome?
I mean, unfortunately, I mean, for Texas, I think the answer honestly is I don't want to see Malik Muhammad on any of those guys.
Yeah.
But if you had to say like one, maybe Polk, just because I think Rome might be a more developed wide receiver right now. And but with a JMac, having him be able to come out of the slot and go any which way possible, I think that's kind of what I've said in the past. Like that's kind of what makes our team so elite is once you bring that skill set back, it takes us from a really, really good team to like an elite type team.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I honestly, I think I would take any of our receivers against any of their corners. And so
I think you could say that pretty much across the board with anybody in the country too.
You might be right, man. I mean, at least that we've played. There's some guys at Oregon State. Oh, actually, I don't even know. It's hard to say, man. We've said this a couple times this year. Like, as Seattle sports fans, we're trained for almost some negativity or some pessimism, but they have to scheme for that. Good luck. Because if you're banking on two guys in the middle to create enough pressure on Michael Penix to disrupt this entire offense, I mean, it's not going to work for you, man. You have to have more than that. We're going to score in the 30s, so you have to come up there with us.
Yep.
Yeah, and looking at their team, especially like their secondary, real quick. It's not that their corners are terrible. I mean, I remember watching the game last year, and I mean, their secondary, just kind of like the way they play, they're a little stickier than I thought they would be. But where I really see, UW like eating against this defense is our tight ends can have a big game. They really can. Our tight ends, and then coming out of the slot. Mm-hmm. And I think that what's going to happen is you'll quickly see that they'll have to give those guys more help, and that's only going to open up the run game.
Yeah, right. I think one of the things that actually really affects that is safety play. When I was talking with different Texas fans on Twitter and stuff like that, they were saying the same thing, that their corners are actually pretty good. It's the safeties that have been struggling, and we know this firsthand with having our safeties out all year, that if your safeties aren't back there quarterback in that secondary, it's hard to play good ball in the secondary.
Yeah,
And go for it.
no, I was just gonna say they have a starting safety. Derek Williams is gonna be out for the first half in this game, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, but in your conversations, they might have brought up Jaron Thompson,
Mm-hmm.
who's I think one of the guys back there, really grading poorly tackling, um, and just and again back to the main point of this is like that they're not equipped, regardless of how sticky they were last year. They're not equipped to match up. They
No,
can't.
Dude,
no,
on that really quick, Izzo, is just being not equipped. They're actually 87th in the country of giving up explosive plays.
yep.
And
Just not.
and, it, and when you think of it that way, it's like, is there, and I'm dead serious when I ask this question. Is there another team in the country that, if you know you're not good at giving up explosive plays, stopping the explosive plays, is there a more team that they probably fear than UW?
No.
That's exactly what we do. We exploit that kind of stuff. And when we were talking about the tackling, I don't think it's just the safeties. I think they have poor tackling across the board. One of the game that I pulled up that I think really shows this, and you see this, I saw this even against Texas Tech, a game they won by 50 points. If you attack the edges, and I'm talking about like screen passes along with like the runs and stuff like that, they're not very good at tackling in space. They're
Mm-hmm.
not very good if you get the ball in athletes' hands in space, they usually make the first or second guy miss. And what I noticed in that Oklahoma game was they were using that to dilute down the effectiveness of the defensive line. The two big guys in the middle, if you start getting them running laterally, they can't keep up. It's literally the reason why we go to a NASCAR package and take Thule out on against pass heavy
Right.
offenses. And and that's how literally Oklahoma beat them. Once they started spreading them out, they were able to throw the ball all over them, and then they were able to run up the middle on them as a result because they were spread so thin in the center.
Right.
Um, the one thing also about the secondary, they are opportunistic. They have as many picks as we do. They're ranked, I believe, 8th in the country
Oh wow.
in interceptions. But if you look at their yards per game, they're like 94th or something like that. So they can pick the ball off. They're very similar to UW in that manner where they can make plays happen. But if you get the ball in athletes' hands and don't give them a chance to do that, they've proven to be very, very vulnerable to big plays.
I was reading some articles on the national side, and I saw, I think it was SI or somebody double down on their take that Texas was the pick for this game because they thought that Texas's secondary was getting like how poor they are was being overstated compared to UW. And when you brought up a good point, and I guess to their credit, you could say, well, they got the same amount of interceptions and takeaways in the secondary as we do. The Pac 12 passing offenses compared to the Big 12 passing offense is it's just laughable to compare those apples to apples. You know what I mean?
Quarterbacks too. The quarterbacks in the
Yeah.
Pac-12 are so much better than the Big 12 this year. You're not even close.
It's not even freaking close. So, anyways, I won't
And,
harp
and
on
the good
that, but it's
quarterbacks
like,
torched them. I mean, they got torched in general, but they got the good quarterbacks. I mean, it was the kid for Kansas State.
Will Howard.
Well,
Will
thank
Howard.
you. 327. Dylan Gabriel went nuts on them. He also ran for 100 yards on them. So you're very, very right when it comes to that. The good quarterbacks torched them, and they weren't as good as the Pac-12 quarterbacks.
No,
So the big matchup that I think though that we're gonna all be looking at is gonna happen not just with the pass. It's gonna be with how the run offense for UW does against the run defense, because that's really where Texas is maybe the most elite team in the country, is at stopping the run. They got the two big D tackles that we've talked about, but they got good linebackers. Their edges aren't bad. Noah, how do you see us attacking that Texas run defense and being successful? Because we've been very good at running the ball, even against big tackles like Bryant for USC or Dorless at Oregon. How do you see us attacking them?
Yeah, I don't know if we've seen 6'5", 365 yet in Sweat.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, Murphy and Alfred Collins and those guys. I mean, dude, they're not small humans either. They can get up and go. People have been kind of asking, what does it look like? How do you attack, a run game that only gives up, I don't even know what it is, 40, 50 yards a game, something like that. It's not much. And I mean, the best way that I can see it is, dude, I'm not trying to run dive against these guys. I want to see us run off tackle. I want to see us run which we've kind of stole from Oregon, I think, but that patented toss crack that we've been using. And dude, we've been running it so successful. And the big thing with guys like having big defensive tackles like they have, if they want to get up and go vertically, it's going to be really tough to stop them. But if we can get them to run horizontally and get them to try to get outside to make plays, I think that's where UW's going to be successful.
Okay. Izzo?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, what's interesting is we were talking with some Texas fans in Spaces, and they actually called out that pitch toss that we do to Dylan Johnson is like a good idea. What I'm curious about, and maybe this is something you test on this first drive or the second drive, depending upon where you want to fill it in, but I think you test the waters there early on and see if Sarks and PK are going to try to scheme against that, because they've got to know that the game plan for UW is not going to be, like you said, to run it up the middle at these two what look to be surefire, day one draft picks in the NFL. Devondre Sweat, to Noah's point, we have not played a player like him. He is a show-stopping defensive tackle. Like I'm trying to think I don't even have a good comp for him in the NFL. He's so tall. And he moves
Jordan Davis, probably.
Yeah, somebody like of that caliber is how good this kid is. So it's a true test for Parker and for the our big guards. But I think Parker has just played. I mean, we always gush on Parker. He's played lights out, and this just kind of brings us back to that whole Nick Harris comparison of Nick Harris against Bama, right? And how Nick Harris held his own against those defensive linemen. What can we see from Parker here? I think it plays to our advantage in this game in particular that the Huff likes these tackle bodies in the middle. He likes these big 6'7" dudes in the middle. And I think that they can definitely help out to at least mitigate what they're going to try to do. So here's my take on this. The games in which teams were successful on the ground against Texas, if you're going to go this route, which I think we could all agree, our game plan is not going to be to like run for 150 in this game, unless it's in garbage time to drain the clock. They struggled with dual threat. And I know Noah had a point about this, and I want to give you the floor to talk about it. But I would love to see Mike get loose a little bit, and maybe there's some design runs in there, but get creative. And I know you like I don't want to steal your thunder here, Noah, but that tempo idea, draining them out would be great to see.
Yeah, elaborate on that, Noah.
Yeah, my thought on that is when you just have big defensive tackles like that, you see that a lot with like BYU, you see that a lot with like Utah's, they just have these hog mollies in the middle, and what I've seen teams do in the past, you saw Urban Meyer do it at Utah was against other teams is run up tempo with like this hybrid package where you can go like 2 wide receivers, 2 tight ends, and a running back. You can go 5 wide with those hybrid players. You can come in the box and run. But what you're doing, especially in college football nowadays, is you're not allowing them to sub. So you're running this up tempo, not allowing them to sub. And if they do sub, the offense didn't sub. So you can run a quick play, maybe get 12 guys on the field, get a free 5 yards, whatever it is. It's just an idea to run this up tempo, non-subbing offense and get Sweat off the field. Get their best player, get the Outland Trophy winner off the field. And in turn, I think it'll give you a couple of just little advantages you'll see.
Absolutely.
Yep, I agree.
We saw Texas shut down Ollie Gordon, who just last night went off again. And this is a running back this is Oklahoma State's running back that I think if we haven't watched him, go watch him. It's hard not to love him as a runner. But they held him to 13 carries to 34 yards and just blew the doors off him. Now, game script's going to play into that because Texas was just obliterating Oklahoma State. But I think all in all, if you go up. If you're going to run the ball, don't be vanilla. I would love to see something creative with Mike, maybe like him actually hold on to the ball and go and get you 6 yards, 7 yards, and set up a 2nd and 3, and then keep it up tempo. Like if we're gonna go this route, but if they take it away, okay, take away the run. We're gonna there's many options for UW to to continue drives in this offense without the running back going for 100.
Yeah, and they could use kind of like, some of those West Coast offense concepts where you use the passes, the run, short passes, things like that, if they're not able to get the running going. So if we're gonna look at this whole like how UW offense as a whole is gonna attack the Texas defense, where do you think that starts? Do you think that starts with the pass? Do you think that starts with the run? How are you seeing that play out?
Yeah, I mean, Joel Klatt said this, and I'm gonna steal this from him because I think it's important. If whoever wins the toss is going to want to take the ball, because I don't think for either team you're just going to completely shut down the offense, right? And start to run away with this. Like I don't see somebody taking a large lead in this game in the first half. So I really don't want us to overcoach and overthink the football math and try to focus on the run and get away from the pass. Like do what we do and make them adapt. Just because they have these two studs in the middle doesn't mean we need to change everything that's been working for us, up to this point. And last year, watching the game, there was some of that. Like going back to, it feels different this year because the players are seeming really confident going into this game. So I'm not super worried about it, but I don't want to see us overcoach on offense to adapt to their defense, make them try to adapt to us. And so that's kind of my synopsis there. But and this will be the last thing I want to touch on because we didn't talk about their linebackers. They have two solid linebackers, Jalen Ford, Anthony Hill. One is kind of like your pass guy. One is your guy against the run. Jalen Ford's really good against the run. I think we scheme away from both of them anyway, because I see us, and maybe I'm curious on your guys' take as we, give our thoughts on the offense versus the defense. Do you see us going outside? Like, I don't see us trying to scheme over the middle. So I don't see these linebackers having a major impact against us. And, and part of that is to do with us kind of trying to get away from the two interior defensive tackles. Do you see that as the case? Like, do you see us going outside, or do you see us not changing things over the middle really and just kind of doing what we do?
No, you want to take that?
Yeah, the only thing I would say on that is, I mean, I think just because of the way how strong Penix's arm is and accurate, I think it allows us to play on the outside of the hashes. Because I think most people would say, "Oh, my quarterback feels the most comfortable over the middle because the throw is usually the easiest." But for a guy like Penix, I know this might sound like, okay, you're wearing purple glasses. I don't think we scheme away from anyone. Yeah. I seriously don't. And I look at the final four teams, three being, the teams we might have to play. It's like, I'm not sure we're seriously stressed about any particular two players, and surely not Hill and Ford. I do think, though, that our linebackers in this game against these safeties, I'm sorry, did I say linebackers? I meant our tight ends. Our tight ends in this game can actually be very, very successful. Whether it's some like crossing routes, whether it's the inevitable seam route we seem to never run with our tight ends. But I mean, like, dude, there is some stuff that we can do that just watching this film, but I think our tight ends are athletic enough against these safeties and these linebackers that we could be very successful at.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you're actually hitting it right on the head. I think what us being balanced and being able to run and pass was how we beat Oregon, and nobody thought we were going to be able to run on Oregon, and we ran all over them. I think how we scheme matters there because the balance, when we are playing balanced football, we seem to be at our best. We seem to not be one dimensional. We seem to be able to go back and forth and in between. I think when we're trying to neutralize those tackles, we talk about attacking the edges, but also think about when we move the pocket. If you move the pocket, then you're playing away from them and you're forcing them to run somebody down. And I think that's a great way to neutralize them and keep them out of the game. And you can do that in both the run and the pass game. And then when they're tired, it's been proven through, if you go watch the film, they get soft up the middle eventually. And then you can start doing all that kind of stuff. I think it's built on the edge and then you build from the outside in as opposed from the inside out. Anything else you guys want to hit on before we switch to the other side of the ball?
No, just I like our offense versus their defense.
Hey, you know what? That's probably the simplest way to put it.
Yeah.
All right. So if we go and we're going to look at the secondary of UW, who, if you're looking at the numbers, that's our defensive weakness against the pass offense of Texas, which you would say I think they have over 3,000 yards rushing as a team. But they can throw the ball too. We've seen, especially in the last few weeks, Ewers really kind of pick up the pace on that. Izzo, when you're watching the secondary for UW, which like I said, we've seen them get torched a few times. What worries you, or what do you think is going to be okay? Because I know it's definitely a different secondary than who played against Arizona State or who played against Arizona.
Definitely. There's a potential mismatch here that I think is not super deadly for UW, and I'll explain why. They have a wide receiver named Adonai Mitchell. He's 6'4". We don't have a corner that size, right? There's been very few 6'4" corners that we've played against this year. The interesting thing about Mitchell is that he just does not move the ball after he catches it. So he's a sure-handed option for them. I don't know if he's going to be enough for them to exploit a mismatch that then creates such a headache for our defense that we can't hold them below what our offense is going to score. I see Worthy and Mitchell both getting their catches. I think like they do every game. I see them getting kind of 50-50 on the target share. And I know Noah will agree with me here. They have a stud tight end.
Yeah.
Jatavion Sanders. He can create mismatches. But if I'm going to choose to get worried about a game, it's not going to be the game where we play one of their receivers is Adonai Mitchell and 6'4" and potentially has a mismatch on one side, and the other player we have to worry about is a tight end. I see Jabbar, and what I would very much like to see in this game is I want to see Jabbar follow and shadow Xavier Worthy. Agreed. I actually like Jabbar in that matchup, and if they want to try to beat us through the air with a tight end and Adonai Mitchell, who has, I think, 167 yards or something like that of total yak on the year as their number 2 receiver. I'm not stressed about that for our defense. And I think the national pundits got this absolutely wrong. We talked about how they basically are saying how bad Texas's defense secondary is overstated. It's Washington's defense that's not very good. It's dude, we were so banged up. Having Asa back there again, it's a totally different secondary with him in the game. Him healthy, month of rest with our boy Cam Fab. I'm not afraid of their passing options.
Are we sure that Asa's playing? Because I know he wasn't on the depth chart they put out.
Yes. I mean, who knows? I don't know what they're doing, if that's just tomfoolery or if he's really hurt or whatever. He's got, he played with a cast on last week, so I think they could probably tinker around with the injury report a little bit. So, but I expect him to play.
Okay. No, what do you think?
Yeah. No, I mean, one of the things that Izzo said that I just want to, dude, we're finally healthy at all levels. Especially, and when I say all levels, Thule's been banged up with his knees. Our safeties have had, some. I'm sorry, our linebackers have had some shoulder stuff, and it's just we're finally there. And you talk about Sanders, the big tight end. He is a mismatch. He's a mismatch for anyone. But having the safeties back, having Dom fully healthy, or at least getting there. I mean,
Mhm.
dude, our safeties match up well with him, probably better than anybody they've seen all year. And that's really not like me just saying that. I mean, Sark really only uses 4 pass catchers. He uses the Sanders, he uses Worthy, he uses AD, and he uses Whittington. And Whittington's kind of like their glue guy, possession guy. He played against us last year, number 4, long haired locks. Um, but man, there's a couple keys when I look at this. It's Xavier Worthy, man. He's Showtime. I mean, he's
Yep.
fast, but he doesn't really want to get physical with anybody. He's a buck 75 soaking wet. He's tough, and it ain't like he's not gritty, but he's just, I have it in my notes, man, in capitals, man. Skinny. Dude, he's just skinny, bro. I mean,
Hmm.
he is. And it's like, if you can just kind of give him, get up in him and get physical with him and not let him beat you over the top, dude, he doesn't really have that ability to be, it's just physics, man. And, but then in my opinion with AD, I think Izzo said this. AD isn't going to get you, yeah, guys. He's not going to put his shoulder down and hit you. But dude, he is, in my opinion, he's like the dude on that team. 6'4", 195. He's a Sunday type wide receiver. He's a big time playmaker, especially in the red zone. Uh, Give me an opportunity to just kind of get aggressive with these wide receivers, and I think UW in the end will just be just fine with it against those guys.
Yeah, I think Dixon can do that too because Dixon likes to get physical, and I think he would be. And he's not like he's short, he's not 6'4", but I think he's long enough. I think the one of the matchups to get physical on is letting Dom loose on the tight end. Let him get physical with him at the line. Let him get up in his face. Make him earn every inch of it, and make him not want to have to go out on a route because he knows Dom's going to hit him in the mouth coming off the line. And you know what? Maybe he gets a 15-yard penalty here or there, but do what you got to do to make sure that he knows that you're watching him every single play. Because I think him and Jabbar are going to be the keys to this. I think covering Worthy and covering the tight end. I don't think they have a game plan to that beats us without those guys having big games. Um, all right, let's move on to the UW rush defense, which has been pretty damn good. I'm not gonna lie. What they did to Bucky Irving and everything in the Pac-12 championship game was impressive. Um, I'll start with you, Izzo. What are you thinking about what UW can do to stop this really potent 3,000-yard rushing attack that Texas has? Because they are really good and they have the next Bijan Robinson coming up, behind
Right.
him.
Yeah, they got a trio: CJ Baxter, Jaden Blue, Keelan Robinson, and they're younger guys. They're talented. What's interesting about their rushing attack is that their offensive line grades out poorly uh, in the run blocking game, and this is
Really?
kind of an interesting thing. And I wanted to almost pitch this to Noah as well. They grade out phenomenally well in protecting the passer. But when it comes to creating running lanes for these running backs, they've struggled, and with Jonathan Brooks, and so the football math is just wonky with it. I if they are truly not going to threaten our pass rush, or excuse me, our rush defense in the front seven, I can't see these three running backs really kind of taking over a game or being the group compared to the other running backs that we faced this year, where they go up by 10 and we just can't stop them, and they keep getting first downs and our defense is on the field for a long time. What's kind of your thought there, Noah, when you have a uh, an offensive line that is built to protect the passer, but they're going to have, that part of their game plan is going to be to, lean on three young running backs like this, and they've been decently successful in doing it.
Yeah, to hit that without sounding too like elementary, to me it screams that maybe they're just a little soft. And I mean that's just, I mean, when I hear that they're elite, pass blockers, but they grade out poorly in the run block, it's either two things. it's either the scheme isn't very good, or they just don't like to. They just don't really like to put their nose in it and run block.
Well,
Uh,
But
do you
Noah,
think
the
that
Big 12's defensive lines are so beefy and scary.
yeah,
well, let me ask you guys this though, but 3,000 yards is still 3,000
It
yards.
is.
So,
Yeah.
so do you think that the low grade could be like deceiving?
I think it's a lot to do with the fact that Jonathan Brooks was back there, and he's one of the best running backs. And unfortunately for them, he's not in this game. And so, I mean, I wonder if they kind of leaned on him to create in the backfield, and don't have the ability to put a get together. I mean, what was their stat line without Jonathan Brooks in their last game? I think it was kind of slighted a little bit because Keelan Robinson broke either one or two really long touchdown runs. And so he had like 4 carries for 75 yards and 2 touchdowns. And if your rushing offense is dependent upon you getting is he a true freshman, Keelan? I'm pretty sure he is. He's either a redshirt or a true freshman.
no. Keelan Brooks is the one that's been he's been around for a couple of years.
Keelan
It's a
Robinson
Cedric. Yeah. CJ Baxter is
is the
the
name
true
down
freshman.
stud.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting football math. I mean, I don't have like a huge opinion on it because it's on paper, but it's not the guy who was accumulating those yards behind a poorly grading offensive line in the rush game is now not there anymore. So
Yeah, and I mean they didn't really run that great against Oklahoma State. If I'm looking at the numbers here, Baxter was 13 for 43. That's 3.3 a carry. Blue was 10 for 33, which is 3.3 a carry. Red was 5 for 19, 3.8. Robinson had 4 for 75, and it looks like he must have
Yeah,
broke
he
a big
broke
one.
one. He
Yeah.
broke one for 57. It's
Yeah.
just, I mean, at the end of the day, man, I think your point is valid. I think Brooks is a special back, and having Blue, Baxter, and Robinson, and a little bit of Savion Red there too. I mean, it's not like they don't have good Division I running backs. They do, but the fact of the matter is blocking for a veteran back in Brooks, and then all of a sudden bring in a kid like a CJ Baxter, he's getting his first real touches behind, an offensive line late in the season.
Mhm.
The mesh there is a lot more difficult. The Brooks has a feel of where his linemen are going to block, etc. Um, Dude, they got some dudes up front, but like I said, this offensive line doesn't scare me any more than we've seen multiple times this year.
yeah, Oregon
They
Okay.
State.
really don't.
So
Oregon State. I mean, it's Kelvin Banks. I mean, that was like the big matchup that I really wanted to look at was like Kelvin Banks versus
Right.
Trice. And he's a big time 5-star offensive tackle out of the state of Texas, and I mean he's anything and everything. 6'5", 6'4", 6'5", 320 pounds. But dude, I'll tell you what, Braylon Trice had his way with him a couple different times last year, and it's like they tried to chip Trice. They tried to bring in. They tried to have a tight end over top of him. They tried to have a running back come help as well. Uh, Being able to really shut down this defensive line completely, it hasn't been done all year. And I'm sorry, man, I just don't see it with Jones, Campbell, Connor, and Banks, man, and I think it's Robertson as well. It's just I just don't see it. And at the end of the day, if you really have guys that are only good at one side of the ball, pass blocking and run blocking, you're kind of just exposing yourself to just get eaten alive.
Right.
yeah.
So
So, is there anything else that you personally think, though, Noah, that would be a key to stopping that run? Because we kind of talked about how the O line didn't grade out that great, but they do have a lot of yards, so almost like it's a wash there. What would you do though if you're UW's pass or your UW's defense trying to stop that running game? Because it has been
yeah, I think
effective.
sure, absolutely. I think you just got to create confusion there.
Mhm.
Especially with what we do. Whether that's showing pressure, backing out of that, maybe a delayed blitz.
Mhm.
Um, and then I think the other thing really is just a good rotation, especially on the edges. We've seen a good rotation on the interior, but one thing, without Zach Durfee, we haven't had like true four true edges being able to rotate. Having Durfee back will really allow, for a true 4-man edge rotation. So
The man, the myth,
keeping
the
guys,
legend.
that's right. Keeping guys fresh and just kind of showing confusion up front, I think will help a ton.
Yeah, I agree. For me, it's very simple. There's only one thing: tackling. Make sure you're bringing guys down. We can't let like when you're watching Texas's offense, as soon as they break through that first or second level, a lot of those running backs have the ability to take it to the house. If you're the first guy there, bring him down, stop him enough to where other guys are at least getting there. If you can tackle, I think we're fine, especially against the run. Now, Noah, I'm going to stick with you on this next one because you were a pass rusher at the Division I level yourself. How does the UW pass rush deal against the Texas pass blocking? Because they do grade out well there. And if you watch those games, you'll see it. They're able to stonewall a lot of these different defensive lines. We have guys that can get to the quarterback. How do you see that playing out as far as the UW pass rush goes, and what do they need to do to be successful?
Yeah, that's this is kind of a multifaceted answer, and I'll try to keep it short. But getting them into third and longs and off script, I think is going to be huge. Being able for UW to get into that NASCAR package we talked about, we see that pressure rate at about 50%. If we can get into the third and long and bring in that NASCAR package, I think that's when we can kind of have our athletes get into space and make plays. But when it comes to Quinn Ewers and getting pressure on him, he has the highest, or I think it's the second highest in the Pac-12. In the Big 12. If you get pressure on Ewers, he gets sacked 28% of the time.
Hmm.
So what does that tell you as like someone scouting him or kind of looking at him? Once you kind of get Quinn Ewers off script, or him running around in the pocket making plays, that's just really not what he does. He wants to stay there. So if you know that, I think you're gonna almost have to see UW bring a little bit of pressure. Once again, bringing something up the middle, bringing a cornerback blitz, getting some twists, some loops on the inside, and I think you'll see that. I think especially with these guys, if they keep Ewers healthy, that's when he can kind of just like stay on script, go through his checks, go through his reads, and he's very good when he does that. But getting a little bit of pressure in his face, I think you'll see him fold. So that's the thing, is putting pressure quick and early, and I think you'll see it kind of it'll be able to get into Ewers quick. So
maybe blitzes and stuff like that, utilizing some of the speed we have at linebacker. I think that definitely makes sense. Izzo, what about you? What do you think?
I just think Thule is going to be a really big factor in how we do against this offensive line, just because they've got the bookends, right? They've got the two tackles who project well and can protect Quinn. But we've seen for the last few games Thule come in and just game wreck and blow up everything,
That's true.
And get into the backfield and get sacks. So I got nothing more to add. I think Noah nailed it, but Thule's presence again for however many weeks in a row, him being back and kind of on a month's rest. I'm excited to see if he can just eat. I want to see him eat.
Yeah. All right. Real quick, guys, is there anything else that you guys really want to get into as far as this Texas defense versus the UW offense? I know we have a bunch of different stuff, but we kind of already covered a lot of it in the agenda. Is there anything else you guys want to touch on before we get into how we see this game playing out?
The only thing I would mention is you can finally see Coach K and kind of like his imprint on this defense. They're sound, man, and they don't make a ton of mistakes. But one of the things about this team is they don't have elite pass rushers. And when UW has faced teams in the past that don't have that elite pass rush coming from the edge, it allows our tackles, and we really do have two truly like bookend tackles. I would say Banks is like a true bookend tackle. The Jones guy, to me personally, I mean, he's good. He's a good Division I football player, but he's not Roger or Troy. And so
Mhm.
where I'm going with that is when we can have our guys out on an island, just taking care of the edges, and then we have our three interior offensive linemen going against Sweat, and those guys, and I just think that it allows us to really focus on those interior guys, and I think that it's going to that's a matchup that I think is UW does have the ability to kind of exploit. I know everyone talks about, oh, their interior is so good, so good, so good, dude. We have the best O line in the country.
Mhm.
And so there's a realness to being able to say, okay, keep our guys on the edges, keep them on the outside, and then we'll go all three of our interior O linemen. Have a tight end come chip one of those guys. Have DJ chip one of those guys on the inside, and then let Mike Penix just go to work.
Well, and the facts are that I'll tell you what, the teams that we've played this year that have elite defensive ends and edge players, we've shut them down. Look what happened with Utah. Everybody was expecting this big matchup with Fatanu and what's the dude's name? I believe where's 91. I want to say.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
The kid from Utah. My brain's
like
farting
Ellis
right now.
Jordan Ellis.
And it was a non-factor. It didn't matter in the game because he was taken out of it, and that's what happens when you have these two bookend guys. I mean, the Michigan State kid last year against Rosengarten, he was a non-factor. He was coming in leading the country in sacks, and Rosengarten shut him down. So I think
Wyndham.
Yeah, I think that I really think that it's hard to beat the defensive ends or the tackles at all. I think what you're going to see from Texas is kind of what they did to Texas Tech. They blitzed a lot against Texas Tech. They wanted to bring pressure to keep that passing game to make the quarterback have to hit his first or second reads. And I think that's what you saw Arizona State do against us and Arizona. And I think they're going to try to imitate that. The problem is we figure that out by the end of the season and how to beat that. And we talked about those different things to do, moving the pocket, the attacking the edges, things like that, taking what they're giving us. And I think that's going to be what really is the game changer for us.
I'll be the dissenting opinion here on this because I actually feel a little bit differently than you guys. I think if there's actually, for me, if there's something that their defense presents that actually concerns me, it's the depth that they have at these positions. It's not that they're show-stopping edges that are going to burn Roger and Troy. To me, it's just the dealing with solid guys in a okay rotation, like for them at edge, at the same time you're dealing with those two in the middle.
Yeah.
And so let's
just like fresh bodies just coming.
Yeah, fresh bodies.
Yeah,
and I when I look around the Pac-12, I don't see like deep edge rooms. Like you see Utah, like they've got some guys, but this is a little bit different, I think, in a different assignment for us. Where
it's a good point. Izzo.
Yeah, where it's I joked in my notes on this section about bringing Troy back in on inside to play guard and just like what would happen. I don't really think we should do that, but my point is that we have an award-winning offensive line. My concern is keeping Mike healthy, and I think Mike brought up the point of balancing the pocket outside. I don't think we talk about keep moving the pocket if there isn't something to be concerned about.
Yeah.
And I just, you look at Sweat and those guys like in the middle, you just think, hey man, I don't want to see these dudes break contain and just smush Mike in the backfield. Like we need to be solid up front. And I think it's just, we're used to going pass rush. Okay, how are their edges? But it might not be the equation for Texas. And so,
well,
go ahead, Mike. And go ahead, Mike.
I was going to say, my biggest concern is with pass blocking the whole season has been the interior and how they handle it. Because sometimes they're really good, but you'll see games where we'll see either Bulow or Kalepo fumble an assignment, or we see maybe every once in a while Parker get blown up because he is a lot smaller. I think the three of them have to be working very cohesively for this to work. When you see Sweat lined up right over Parker, making sure whether it's Kleppo or Bulow, help chip him, help keep him, help
Got
make
it.
sure that weight difference, because he's almost 100 pounds heavier than Parker is. Make sure that weight advantage doesn't play to them. And I think tempo, I think all these different things you can do if it really starts being a problem. Those are things that you can do to stop it. Because I'll tell you what, once they do get tired, just like what Oklahoma did to them, those guys became non-factors.
Totally. Yeah.
You know. So
yeah, and I surely wasn't saying that like I didn't think those guys were talented or great. I mean, dude, I think they're
Yes,
interior.
you were. Yes, you
Yeah. I just think that when you have the ability to like, and shut down's not the right word. When you have the ability just to say, I can go 1v1 with your edges, and now I can bring my running back up into the middle to help pass block. I can have a tight end come in on, an H back like a Westover come in and help, those three interior offensive line. I think when you face guys like the Sweats and the rest of that front, it's just so much easier to slow them down. I guess that was my point.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll see how Dylan Johnson and the pass blocking plays into this too, because he's probably going to be asked to do a lot in that.
Oh yeah, and you know what? That's right up his alleyway. He does it great.
Yeah, it turns out he's fairly good at that.
Yeah, like he's like Myles Gaskin, but like 25 pounds heavier.
I feel like and you guys stop me if I'm wrong, but like it feels like we're dooging a lot right now, like about the position battles, and like we're really leaning UW's side. But honestly, we're looking at going through all of these, and this is the only one to me where I'm like, all right, let's see what happens here. I really like us in just about every other matchup scenario where we're looking at our secondary versus their wide receivers. I truly believe that our secondary is better than their offense than they like enough for them to not score with us. So I just wanted to call that out. Like, I know we've picked UW to be the winner in these matchups so far, but like I truly believe this. I want to go back on my previously tweeted score prediction because like I feel good about this game.
Well, and I think that's what we're seeing. I think we're seeing the best UW team we've seen since at least the 91 team.
Yes.
I mean, it's better than the new Heisel Rose Bowl team. It's better than the 2016 team. It's just different. This offense is the greatest offense in UW history. Yes. I don't think that's a question.
The other thing that's so interesting, I've brought this up already, but in the NBA, and they do like this load management, right, with these guys, and they're like, okay, we only want these guys to play like 70% because once you get into the playoffs, we want our horses to be ready to go, right?
Yeah.
UW has kind of load managed, not even on purpose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, like it wasn't. I mean, we didn't want Asa Turner to not play, 7, 8, 9 games this year. We didn't want Cam Fab to go out for multiple weeks. We didn't want Thule to have a banged up knee and sit out. Like the fact of the matter is we are just now getting fully healthy. We didn't. Let me finish on this too. We didn't want our whole team to get freaking sick in the middle of the year.
That's real.
You know what I mean? Like we weren't. It's just, dude. We have an opportunity to be fully healthy, fully put this team together in the biggest game of the year, the biggest game in the last, 32 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So,
hey,
it's exciting times, man. That's why. I mean, I guess I'm just saying that's probably why we're picking the way we are, or saying like, I'm looking at this position battle. It leans UW. I'm looking at this position battle. It definitely leans UW. It's not so much saying like we think we're just a 10 times better team. It's just we've gone 13-0 in the arguably the first or the second hardest schedule in the country.
Yep.
So it's like, why wouldn't we think we could just do it again?
Yeah. It's these analysts that look deeper. And I know I bring up Clad all the time. Actually, I'm realizing he does actually go that layer deep. Like he does seem like he is research. He just picked UW to win the national championship. And I don't think just picture sitting down with Joel Klatt and going toe to toe with him and having a discussion about the nuances of why he's making that pick. Do you think it's surface level? Or do you think Booger McFarland is surface level?
I think it's pretty obvious. When you see people they come out and they'll say something that is just, UW can't run the ball. That's a real popular thing that you heard. We have a 1,100-yard rusher just because we run the ball 40% of the time and we throw 60% or 65% or whatever doesn't mean we can't do it. If you watch the film, we've won games doing that. And that's how you can tell who's really paid attention and who hasn't.
Yeah.
Because
I mean, we were talking to Noah's point about the injuries, and then we can move on.
Yeah.
Like, I was talking on Spaces with with some Texas fans, and he's like, "Man, I really got to go back and watch that ASU game because like what happened." And I had to be, and I know other Husky fans have probably had to say this too, dude. You're talking to a fan from the South, like we were super sick, man. Like we were, you just got to trust me, man. Our guys were sick. It's like
no, for real, man. I swear.
yeah, they're like, okay, immediately. And then you're like, all right, there's nothing, you don't take it any further than that. But it's like, all right, man, okay, we'll see. Or we're soft.
You know what? So let's move on to the end of this and we'll bring this to we have a couple of things to touch on, but how do we see this game playing out? Like, what are our predictions? Izzo, I'll start with you on this one. How do you see UW Texas Sugar Bowl 2023 playing out?
Instead of digging into this game, I put a blanket statement out there. I thought 41-34. And as I dug in, I'm definitely going back and changing that, on the Twitter sphere to make sure my receipts are in line here. But I got UW 35-24, and I think it's going to be a holy shit moment on the national stage for a lot of people who look at our defense and assume that they can look without context at what we did this year with tons of our star players hurt. So I think we're about to put the country on notice. And I even felt like I had to make it in an 11-point spread. Like I could see us winning by 2 touchdowns straight up.
Okay.
I was more fearful about Oregon both times than I am about Texas.
Okay. And what's your score? What's your pick for the score?
35-24.
35-24. Okay. Noah.
Yeah, I don't know if this will get cut, but I already went on my diatribe about UW and about us just winning 20 straight games and how special I think this team truly is. I think there's going to be a lot of scoring early. I think Quinn Ewers and Michael Penix are very, very good when they stay on script. The difference is I think Michael Penix is maybe better when he's not on script. And I think that's what truly makes this game and changes this game. I think you'll see early and often, I think you might even see like a 21-14, 21-17 going into half. But the problem is there's 2 quarters left. And I think that we're built to make changes at halftime. I think we can really slow these guys down. Kind of that's where we'll make our hay. I think 38-33, something like that. 38-30, somewhere around there. That's kind of my prediction is I think in the end, I just think we have too much firepower for Texas.
Okay.
So that's 38-33.
38-33. Go for
Mike,
it.
before you go, I just want to say this because Noah got to go on his diatribe. I want to go on mine.
Diatribe away, bro.
I put this out on Twitter earlier. I love the calm confidence that UW players have going into this game. As a fan, it gives me confidence. This is the first time I've seen them do this. It's always been quiet. Let's not say anything. And it could be the fact that they've got more microphones in front of their face than they have before. It feels different. It feels like the team has an identity. They have a chip on their shoulder. They've gone up against all this bull crap all year, man. And now they're staring down the barrel of a national championship and they're done hearing the shit. They're done with it. And now it's time to talk a little bit. Cause guess what? You got to play us. That's the mindset.
Yep.
Like I always talk about Tom Brady and what would he think or whatever, and half of it's joking, but I'm serious, man. What would he say to a defensive lineman saying his offensive line was just another offensive line. It's like, no, man.
Come get it.
We got too much. There's too much here. There's Penix getting snubbed. There's Rome getting snubbed. Like the disrespect for just the West Coast football, like disrespect for our offensive line that just won the the national whatever accolade for freaking honors for the best in the country. Like, get out of here, man. KD,
we've said it all year, Izzo. This team did not come back to go 11-2. This team did not come back to just win a Pac-12 championship. This team didn't give up the millions of dollars in the NFL to not do something truly elite and something special, man. These guys came back for each other, man. And I'm telling you, that in the end, man, that's how you win natties, bro.
Totally.
You know, it's funny. I was watching, they were comparing Sark and KDB as far as like winning percentage, conference titles, national championships. And they're like, oh, who's better? And they had included the Sioux Falls stats in there. So he has like 7 conference champions, 3 national titles, like 7 or 8 10-win seasons. And everybody's like, oh, they put the NIA stats. I go, you know what? If you eliminate the NIA stats and you take just his Power 5 or just his Division 1, he still has a better winning percentage. He has as many conference titles. He has more 10-win seasons, and they both don't have a national championship at this.
Go put Sark in the NIAA.
Yep.
How is he going to do? Like, do you think he's going to win 7 national championships in the NIAA, whatever the hell it is?
Oh, it's 3 out of 4 years, but yeah.
No, Izzo, that's exactly was my point. I want you to finish, but that was my point. It's not like just because DeBoer was in Division 3 that all of a sudden he had like 12 Division 1 wide receivers playing for him. Like, I'm not knocking these guys at all, but it's just like he's still having to coach against peers that have the same type of talent that he does.
Yes. Yep. And it's his system. His system is what changed it. And that's when we talk about that quiet confidence.
They don't waver on their principles at all, ever. They know it works. It's not something that's not repeatable depending upon what level that you're at. It doesn't, the Sark KDB stuff, man, like I get it from like it doesn't go any further than they both call good offenses. Like that's the analysis that you have with Sark and KDB. Like they both call good, scary offenses or whatever. Past that, dude, I said this earlier on Spaces. Sark is Lil Wayne. Sober Sark's not the same.
Little Wheezy.
So I want old drunk Sark. That's the Sark I'm worried about. That's the Sark that we want.
Yeah, he's the one that almost beat LSU in his first game. But
I know people are gonna get mad at me for whatever me.
I think that's funny.
Sark. He's done great. I get it, but dude, there are levels, okay? And if you're familiar with Sark and how he runs a program, and we followed him past UW, and then you compare that to what Kellen DeBoer does when he implements principles that he doesn't descend on for at any point, and it works and it's clicking and everybody's on the same page. Like this is a program builder, not Sark. Sark is going to win at Texas and he's going to bounce.
That could be, and that could be true. And I think it's just like you said, his system, where Sark's system might not be bad because it's not, but KDB's system is elite and it's worked everywhere and it works quickly. It's not something that takes a couple years to implement. Literally, he won 11 games, and we should have been in the Pac-12 championship last year.
Look at Sark yelling at that staffer on the side, before he's coming out of the tunnel. That is not.
Dude, would you ever see
down in your program? Like, I'm sorry, I know it's a moment, but like,
bro, all right, I remember being on the phone when we saw that come out last year, and I literally that made me sick, bro. And I'm not kidding you. Like, I think seriously. We can edit this out, but this is actually real, dog. What does Sark make, bro? Seriously, 10 million a year, 12 million a year with endorsements, probably like
something
20
stupid
million,
like that. Yeah.
What does that guy make a year, bro? $60,000 doing that? I mean, seriously, like I'm not trying to be rude. I'm being honest. Like, so
Well,
what does that make you? What does it make you feel
he's
good?
douchey. That's what it is. He literally, there's no better way to put it. He can be douchey, and we know that from his time at UW.
Yeah, don't put your effing hands on me or whatever he said.
Yeah.
Like,
dude, we're in the heat of the moment. No, we're in the heat of the moment. Dude, there's plenty of guys in the heat of the moment. You don't think a player's on the heat of the moment? Sark gets a pass. What? Because he's Sark? Like, the ego is just out of this world, dude, with the sunglasses on the sideline, dude. You're not Mike.
Hold up. How about the all white, like those like skinny white pants he wears now with the cowboy hat, the camel hair jacket? Like, don't get me wrong, I like the gear, but it's like, Sark, come on, bro. You were just wearing some like dirty beanie like 8 years ago, and all of a sudden you go to Texas, and now you're a country cowboy. Like, come on, bro.
Hey, you know what? I don't mind leading, like him leaning into whatever. I think that when you're in the heat of the moment, it's like when somebody's drunk. They're more of who they are. Like you see all those things about you are highlighted, and I think that's what we saw. Now, real quick, let me do my pick before, because we still got to move on.
Yeah, my bad.
So the way that I see this, I see Texas as a slightly watered down Oregon. They do a lot of the same things very well. Same thing on with defense. They're weak secondary, strong front seven. And so I see this game playing out similar. I think UW comes out and might go up 21, might go up 17 on them. And then I see Texas catching some traction. And then where KDB has been the most impressive to me has been what they do at halftime to adjust. And then I see them leaning on Texas and us going up like 42-17 or 42-21, and then maybe they get a garbage touchdown or two like they did last year, and the final score ends up being 42-28. And then everybody's talking about, wow, UW went in there. Oh, the Big 12 is weak. Oh, Texas isn't as good as we thought they were. Their holes were more susceptible, and they still underestimate us. And then we go play a Bama or a Michigan, and then they have nothing left to say after that.
Amen.
So let's get to these Discord questions. Like I said, if you guys don't know, Dub has a Discord. The link is in the bio. It is the best place to get any information on UW football or UW basketball. It's free to join, but if you pay the $8 a month, you can join the VIP portion where we talk recruiting, we talk transfer portal, we talk about coaching changes, we talk about everything, and it's all the news. You hear the news a month before everybody else. And this is facts. You hear everything. And like I said, everybody's kicking around different ideas. I know that you never know who you might find in there. There might be your favorite people from UW Twitter. It might be people that are actually involved in the program. But make sure you go hit that link, join the Discord. And then when you're feeling left out, pay that $8 a month and be with us. So first Discord question from Charger 2157. What's the vibe like down in NOLA from a fan perspective? What is the media saying about the team? And is Booger still running his mouth?
The vibes that I'm hearing are, man, like that, just like the guys are like free and loose. Like that's the biggest thing I can hear, man. And you see it on media day today, the offensive media day, and it's like these guys are excited to be there. They know why they're there, so they're going to have a good time. But it's also business-like as well. Is the media still, running their mouth? I mean, it's the media. It's kind of what they're supposed to do, right? So,
That's true.
At the end of the day, I kind of think that they're going to keep running their mouth until we shut them up. And honestly, this is where it comes down to. I'm not sure that you can shut them up until you win the national championship.
I think you're 100% correct.
Yep, because what's going to happen is, and Mikey said this, it's like we lose this game or we lose the next. They would just say, yeah, see, it's West Coast football. They're just not built to play with the big boys. And so in the end, shut them up one way.
Well, and I think that's kind of the fact of the matter is because the Pac-12 hasn't won anything in so long, until we do win something, they're going to keep that narrative and they're going to keep finding every reason to believe in that narrative because that's what's been fact for over 20 years. All right, the next question is from EZ. Does the Sugar Bowl have the potential for the defense to play their best game and full potential? I play their best game and at their full potential is what I think he's trying to say. Um, have to think with both safeties back, a month of rest and developing and rested D line plus Durfee.
Yeah.
Who wants to take that one?
Yeah, I think we agreed with you with EZ here throughout the podcast. Like, yes, there is a chance there. It we had the first two games. I mean, we played Tulsa and Michigan State. This is going to be the first time where, as a fully healthy unit, we're really tested. Because let's be honest, when we played Oregon, we weren't fully healthy.
That's true.
Nobody is really halfway through the season, and not to like discredit that, but yeah, the short answer is yes. And having Durfee in there, like Noah said, you're going to be able to spell 4 or 5 edge rushers and capable edge rushers that can have an impact. So the short answer is yes.
Yep. And I don't think we've played our perfect game yet. And I mean, this is the perfect time to do it. The next 2 games is perfect. What do you think? Or no?
Yeah, no, spot on, man. There's
Spot on.
Yeah, yes, the answer is yes. I mean, not much more to say. I mean, I don't know. I just look at it and it's like, dude, having our field generals back there with Asa and Cam Fab, it's what makes this defense run, man. And so it's dude, I'm excited to see the unleashing of Durfee, man. I really am.
Too.
We've heard a lot of really, really good things, and I don't think Izzo or myself want to put this like, unfair expectations on him. But I think we're just excited to see what he has to bring us. And that's not a slight at Sakai or anything, or the other defensive ends, right? It's just having a well-rested bunch of horses freaking going after Quinn Ewers is literally like a recipe that allows you to win this game pretty handily. So,
yep. Because he is turnover prone. So the next question comes from Jay Donnelly. Looking at next year, what players are due to take it to the next level outside of some of the more obvious ones? Who wants to take that one first?
Dude, I'll pop off with one that I'm really excited to see is from a tight end room, especially just because you see senior laden tight ends leaving the program in Westover and Cole. I'm very excited to kind of see what the transfer out of Cal Poly could do at Josh Cuevas.
Yeah.
He does everything you want. He's a great inline blocking tight end, but he can stretch the field too. He's a big body, man. Off the top of my head, I mean, Izzo, you can help me. I mean, 6'4" 255. I mean, something like that.
6'4", 255 in that range. Built, man. Built.
Yeah. And it sounds like he's one of those guys too that doesn't shy away from anything, whether it's competition, whether it's getting to doing the dirty in an Oklahoma type drill in the weight room. I mean, just a tough nosed, like he's using the University of Washington exactly how you would want him to, and come get a great education and come use UW to push you into the NFL, in the next couple of years. So it's exciting. It's exciting to see that. So.
Izzo?
That's a really good one, man. He looks primed to break out. And at the beginning, I remember early on when we first started doing the Dub podcast here, we were talking about him and pass blocking and stuff like that. He made major strides this year. So another reason to be excited about him is that he is developing. He looks really good. One guy I'm really curious about, and maybe this will surprise some people, it might not surprise others, is Tristan Dunn. I want to see, he's going to have an opportunity next year, and he has the frame, and we saw him. We get these glimpses of him, and every time he shows up on camera in a game, he's doing something crazy. He's making a huge tackle in special teams, or he's cracking somebody over the middle, like we saw last year when he got some snaps. And he's just somebody that we haven't had like a 6'3", speed. Well, I guess you can say we had Dom, we have Dom, but I mean, he just, his frame is something different. He looks like he can like really grow into like maybe be 6'3", 6'4", and just a massive hard hitting safety that you cannot come over the middle on. And so I'm curious about him. There's plenty others though, but
Yeah,
those.
Izzo, I don't think your
Yeah.
point on Tristan Dunn though is missed though. I mean, because that's not a slight at Dom at all, but they are 100% built different. I mean, Tristan Dunn, no joke. You said 6'3", 6'4", dude. He is legit 6'4".
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, I'm 6'5", and when I saw him on the sideline, I mean, he's looking right at you. I mean,
right.
he's that big and he's long. And I want to use the frame talk just to go into somebody else really quick, and then Mike, I want to hear yours.
Yeah.
Jacob Lane is somebody who's super intriguing to me as well.
Gosh, I forgot
Yeah.
about.
And just
He's
because
played well
Jacob,
too.
dude, he has. And if he's as good as he is at 250, I mean, he's all 6'5", 250 as well. Dude, what does he look like in a full offseason at 6'5", 265?
Maybe we got
Because
two Zach Durfees.
I know, but if you,
Yeah,
and that's the thing about Lane. It's like, if you look at him, I get like, he's still underdeveloped, like from a body standpoint. It's like, dude, if he can just continue to develop physicality, dude, his ceiling could be like, no joke, man. He could be like another NFL body in our edge room that people just kind of overlooked him when he came out of Emerald Ridge, local product. Like, people are just like, oh yeah, I mean, he's a big body. That's good to have. But dude, he's like a boundary edge to a T. And it's like, dude, it's exciting to see kind of what he can do.
Yeah, it's been nice to see him flash, definitely. For me, it's pretty simple. It's Denzel Boston.
Yeah,
I think he's gonna come out, and I think you know what McMillan is for Arizona.
mm-hmm.
I think that's what he's gonna be for us. He's got the big body, the speed, the big catch radius. I think you're gonna watch him step in, and everybody's gonna be like, "This guy was on our team last year,"
Right.
and we're gonna be like, "Yep,
You
exactly." Because
mean
I mean,
you mean Tetra McMillan, the guy who went for 10 catches for 160 yards versus Oklahoma?
exactly. What was the final score on that, by the way?
It's 38-24 with about a minute to go.
Mm.
Arizona.
Dominance.
Arizona's winning.
Oh,
Yeah.
Very nice. Okay, next question from Dr. Phil PDX. This one is actually from Twitter. This isn't from the Discord.
Yeah.
How has Texas changed from last year besides Bama? How have they looked this season? I think we've talked a bunch about this. I
No,
think
Yeah,
that
the biggest thing I would say, man, is I think their offense, Quinn Ewers definitely has gotten better. His intermediate passing, his anything from 11 to 20 yards is become, very, very elite. And so I don't want to like downplay that, but what I really am saying is their defense has definitely stepped up from good, to that like very, very good to just on the fringe of elite type defenses. And that's kind of where I see them, really taking that next step. Xavier Worthy, being back, them getting the transfer AD from Georgia. At the end of the
yeah.
day, man, I really do think that it's their defense is what's going to keep them in a game, and keep them in the college football playoff.
I also think that Quinn Ewers is he's more polished this year than he was last year.
Yeah.
And I think
Yep.
I think that's kind of been one of the biggest differences for them. They actually have somebody at the helm who can get the job done, and he's done a pretty good job as their quarterback.
Yep.
Izzo, you got anything to add?
No, that
Okay.
I would say the exact same things. I mean, obviously, those two in the middle are, they're taking that step, so they look like surefire. And they had some impact last year, but they're just different dudes this year, man. They're beasts.
So if you guys are interested in posing any of these questions to us, make sure you go hit that link in the bio, join the Discord. Like I said, it's free to join, but for $8 a month, you get all the VIP access. That means, like I said, information before it hits any of the news outlets. You get to hear what people are thinking. What are the rumors that could be happening? The rumblings that are behind the scenes, not necessarily what's being put out in the media. And like I said, there's so many people that contribute to it. Crowdsourcing, right? Is that the word?
Yeah, absolutely, baby.
Crowdsourcing is the best way to get information, and there's 2,600 people crowdsourcing in the Discord. So make sure you join. Also, if you haven't hit the like, subscribe, or left a comment, make sure you go do that. That helps support us. Also, The Dubbed Up Podcast is brought to you by Auto Presents. Click the link on autogang.com. You can go see there's a great show happening at the Clockout Lounge on January 13th. Anything you want to see for hip hop in Seattle, go check autogang.com. Now that we're going to wrap everything up, you guys, we had our predictions. We've talked the talk. We've danced the dance. Now it's time to play the game. Anything you guys want to add before we get out of here?
I mean, I think we've said this like 10 weeks not 10 weeks in a row, but 6-7 weeks in a row. Like, this is crazy, man. Like, it almost feels surreal. Like, there's moments where, we're putting in all this work around the Discord, and we're putting in all this work with the podcast and everything like that. And it's like, sometimes you just gotta take a moment with your boys. Just be like, dude,
breathe it in.
13-0, man. For a game that all of us feel like we should win. A rematch with Bama, or facing up with Harbaugh in the national championship on the line. This is it, man. Like, we've been freaking dreaming of this forever. I can't believe we started all this, and I'm just thankful for you guys, man, and what you do for our community and everything like that. So I'm stoked to be enjoying this ride with you too. So it's been awesome.
Likewise,
it's
bro.
It really is, man. Izzo, it's exciting to be a part of it, man. I mean, we put this little podcast together, thinking that.
Thanks to Mike.
I'm not. Yeah, dude. Mike hit us up and said, "Hey, you guys want to do this?" And it was like, it was an idea we always had, but I don't think any of us envisioned that it would be, on the yellow brick road to a national championship opportunity, man. Just unbelievable. And it's and what's cool too is we'll be able to have this these podcasts in the ether for
forever,
for a lot longer than we're here. But I mean, last thing I want to say is this, dude. From a University of Washington perspective, people talk about the '91 team in this lore, right? And we've said this over and over and over again. You don't come back. You come back because you want to be here for your brothers. You come back because you want to write history. These players came back because they want to be talked about like the '91 team. They want to be that special team.
They want to be immortals.
They do. And I mean, they want a statue. Mike Penix want a statue out in front of, Husky Stadium one day. And I mean, dude, Kalen DeBoer, I mean, all these guys, man, it's like, it's just a blessing to be part of this fan group, part of this community, man. And don't ever think for a second, we take it for granted, because it can come and go. But man, we love being here. We appreciate all the support over the year, man, for real.
Yeah.
I'm almost glad that Penix didn't win the Heisman, because if he did win the Heisman and we won the Natty, what is there left to watch? What's there left to live for? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's the pursuit. It's the pursuit.
Yeah, this has been a great season so far, and I'll tell you what, man.
It ain't over.
I couldn't think of two better dudes to do this with, because this has been fun, and I'm glad you guys are all watching. Thank you so much. Like I said, keep tuning in, keep sharing it. We have a lot of crazy stuff coming for after the season too. So make sure you pay attention, and we'll be putting all that information on the Twitter and the Discord. So if you're not a part of that, you know what to do. You know what to do. All right. For Izzo, for Noah, I'm Mike Flunt. Hopefully next week we're talking about how great UW just beat up on Texas. So for everybody, go Dogs.
Go Dogs, baby.
Go Dogs.